All right, everybody, welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. A couple of things to discuss here right off the top here. I was informed did I say 18 minutes? I meant 18 seconds. I was informed by one of the people down at the Deck Bar down in Florida tonight that they've started a new very popular beverage down there. For a long time, it's been Jamie. That's been just the drink that gets passed around down at the Deck Bar. And I'm very disturbed to say, gentlemen, that they are now on, you're going to shudder when I say this, peanut butter whiskey. Yeah.
We should have had Ellie on to discuss this.
It must be a Florida thing.
It's got to be. The brand is Screwball, which I've heard of.
I've heard of that.
Fuck that shit.
But yeah, I look. I try to have a policy of don't knock it till you try it, but I just cannot imagine.
It's good.
Really?
Yeah, you're all hating right now.
Really?
Yeah. They have like little airplane bottles.
So is it sweet?
It's very sweet. Yeah.
It
you
sounds
can't drink
revolting.
too much of it.
Exactly.
So like you mix whiskey with Frangelico and you get this Screwball. Fuck that. No.
Well, I don't know when I'll get down there.
It's an American version of a rusty nail. Fuck that.
I'm thinking of something different. Forget it.
By the way, I did get a text earlier this week, Ben. One of our avid listeners has been very disappointed in your lack of F-bombs. And you've made up for it in spades right there, my man. So to Matt, who's enjoying his 90 degrees in Arizona, he now gets his F-bombs. And then one last thing here.
Mix liqueur with whiskey. That's just disgusting.
Anyway, so I received a box yesterday, and currently this box, I keep trying to open it, and it's open, but it's just filled with
confetti. In the box.
Confetti, yeah. And
it's expensive.
There's a card.
He hasn't opened the card yet.
No, I did. I just opened the box literally seconds ago, and it does have some traditional peanuts in it. And so I'm just going straight.
Today is Mark's 75th birthday.
Yes, so. I turned 75 today, everyone.
I thought it was 77. Whatever. It's one of those.
In either case, get off my lawn.
Yep.
And wow, look at the bubble wrap. I mean, this is incredible. My goodness, there's a shirt in here. It's what I do. I drink and kill things. Grill things.
Real things.
Okay. It's what I do. I drink and grill things. There is no doubt about that. There is absolutely no question about that. Look at this. Look at this. That is a very nice bottle of Redbreast single pot still Irish whiskey.
Good shit.
That is from a very, very nice person out there in Oregon. Ben, thank you. Mm-hmm. I will read the card later because
you should read it now.
Oh, I should. All right. If you're new to this show, I apologize. We will eventually talk Steelers, but by the way, all the paper shards, are those like the weekly reports from work or
weekly shit. I don't know. It's just shredding. I needed something to fill the box in.
Well, okay.
I grabbed some shit and was like, there we go. That's fine.
So that's the front of the card. It's pretty self-explanatory.
If you're listening, you should just go to YouTube right now and
watch the YouTube, listeners. I apologize. It says, in celebration of the anniversary of your birth, happy birthday, fuckface. Right there. I'm not making this up. That's what it says. And it's a wonder why I have any friends. It really is.
I was really hoping you'd open it in front of your family.
Well, as I told you, with an Italian
friends,
an Italian
I
wife,
have friends, and you open it up and it says "Happy Birthday, fuckface."
Yeah,
I was really hoping, but instead it's this audience.
Right. Yes. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ben. Obviously, very, very
You're
much.
welcome.
I appreciate that.
Pour yourself some.
It's going to happen in just a second here because I just polished off my Maker's Mark, or about to. So yeah, it's going to happen here momentarily.
Ooh, you're going to do a taste test between Maker's Mark and Redbreast.
Well, I got a pretty good idea. You got Kentucky.
You were going to be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the show.
I don't make the whiskey, but I'm a huge fan. I am a fan.
A fan of what?
Of the Redbreast.
Oh, I know you are. That's why I'm very excited to try it. Yeah. Oh, and my mother did get me this glass, by the way. It says vintage.
Ooh.
I don't know if you can see that. Vintage 1972, the year of my birth. She sent me this whiskey glass. Yeah.
1972.
I know. It should say 1952, right?
I thought it was like,
since I was like 70 today.
No, I
42.
Seriously, I thought it was like 1872.
Well, there are times my uncle fought in the Civil War. Anyway. All right. Steelers stuff, gentlemen, draft time and all that great stuff. We are about 4 weeks out, I believe. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 4 or 5 weeks?
4 exactly.
4 from tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, let the smoke screens begin. Let the misinformation begin. Let the real information begin. Let it all begin. Because now is when it gets fun. The Lions are already talking about trading out of number 2. We've gotten a lot of phone calls, and that could be possible.
If somebody really wanted Malik Willis,
yeah,
you could dangle that out there and be like, hey.
I think they literally did that they like over the last week. There's been an increase of Malik Willis to Detroit talk. So I think they're trying to increase the value of their pick and see if someone will give them 3 first-rounders for that number 2 overall.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Hey, and if I'm the Lions, I got so many things I've got to do to rebuild. I would love a couple more first-round picks. Right. So, I don't know if anybody's going to do it, but very interesting. Let me start with this real quick. We've kind of touched on this before, and Ryan, I'll start with you. What do you think the chances are that the Steelers would move up in this draft? I mean, I get it. There's always a chance, but when you read
I sound like a broken record. I've talked about Kevin Colbert, tucking those picks in at night and reading them bedtime stories. And for those listening, you're probably like, shut the fuck up. But,
they never
I think that if they think that their next Ben Roethlisberger is in this draft, I think that, and I don't know if I'm saying if they think that. I'm not saying I think that. But if they think that, then I could see it happening. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, the only quarterback in this draft that they think is going to be Ben Roethlisberger or their heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger is Malik Willis. Mm-hmm. But I just don't see the Steelers putting up enough collateral to get to the 2 with the Lions. Now, early or late, 8 or 9 or whatever, I don't know. But that's the only quarterback I can see them trading up for. And I've convinced myself that they might do it, and I'm okay with that because I think he is a boom or bust. But I still don't think they're going to do that. Not in this draft.
So, Ian, you know this stuff way better than I do. When the Steelers moved up to get Devin Bush, what did they have to give up to get to 10?
It was, it was their first and second round picks from that year.
Right.
And then they gave up a 3rd round pick the following year, but got a 4th round pick. So it was kind of just a swap of picks the following year. And I think they got back another later round pick somewhere too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it wasn't. Here's the thing: is if you're willing to move up from 20 to 10 to take Devin Bush, which they absolutely needed an inside linebacker.
People would have torn them apart if they hadn't done it.
Yeah. That if you're willing to do that for Devin Bush, you should be willing to do that for a quarterback if you think the quarterback is that guy. But we talked about this a lot last week, so I don't want to rehash everything.
Right.
But there's no quarterback in this draft that I'm willing to give up next year's first round pick for. That said, if you could get away with moving up for a guy and not give away next year's first round pick, maybe you consider it. That being said, I still think both Willis and Pickett are going in the top 10, just because of the number of quarterback needy teams that are in the top 10 now. With
Every year.
we've added Atlanta, we've got Seattle, we've got Carolina. Who knows what other teams do? The Jets have multiple picks that they're probably willing to shop one to let somebody else move up. So there's too many quarterback needy teams ahead of the Steelers. I just don't see them. Plus, the Steelers don't have a ton of picks this year, and they don't have a ton of picks next year. So they don't really even have a lot of draft capital, which I hate that word because draft capital is kind of a myth. But and here's why. I'll just say it. The number of draft picks you have is meaningless. Draft picks are only as good as the people you have scouting, the people you have making the choice, and the coaching staff you have to develop the players. Other than that, you can have as many picks as you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
How well developed the players already are when they come in now matters a lot too, because you don't get as much time as you used to get with those players.
That's true, which is why I said scouting. Scouting and development.
Scouting is huge.
Matter.
Development matters, but again, you don't get as much time. So now it takes a lot longer. The arc for developing a player like a Malik Willis, who comes in and has a lot of raw talent, a lot of raw ability, but he's not very refined. He's lacking polish to his game. It's going to take him a year or two to be a solid contributor. And I mean, the most Detroit thing in the world would be to take him at number 2 and play him this year and ruin his fucking career.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me at all if that happens. And I don't think the Steelers are going to trade up. And I agree with Ian. I think that Pickett, Willis first, and then Pickett, they'll both go in the top 10. Both Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert first, have said we really need to hang on to our draft picks. Yes, we're interested in quarterbacks, but we really need to hang on to our draft picks and not give those up. So it doesn't sound to me like a trade is in the cards. They did due diligence on every top quarterback, including Howell, who I don't like at all. Nah.
Our guy Derek posted a video clip of him, Sam Howell of North Carolina, in his bouncy pocket awareness. He literally looks like a boxer. Getting up on his toes and literally getting air. I mean, you want a quarterback to have good feet, but you don't want your quarterback literally coming up off the ground every time.
I mean, Antoine Randall did that in Super Bowl 40. That was beautiful.
Yes.
That was a well-thrown pass.
Yes.
Never set his feet. I think he had some inertia coming around the edge anyway, so he just used it and whipped it out there, That was beautiful. But by and large, your mechanics really do matter, especially if you're throwing long.
It's huge. It's huge.
And Howells are awful.
Yeah,
and
he's got a lot of.
Willis has really bad mechanics.
Yep, Willis has mechanics stuff to work out, and as does
decision making, accuracy. He's just a really good athlete.
Yeah. I'm with you guys. I think we have too little draft capital to make any sort of
draft capital. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I just don't see it.
The thing that makes it capital is that you can trade it for value.
Sure.
Yeah. My parting shot on the draft capital argument is that in 2015 the Browns made 12 picks, and in 2016 the Browns made 14 picks. They made 26 draft picks over 2 years, and went 1-31 over the next 2 years.
Right.
So,
but their coach was being paid.
Well,
right. Supposedly he was being paid to tank,
and
to lose games. And all they got was Baker Mayfield out of that.
Baker Mayfield and the second best pass rusher in the draft class.
That's true.
It's right. And
they took Kevin one overall.
Kevin Costner did a hell of a job on that draft too.
Yeah. Kevin Costner was kind of a badass in his short stint as the Browns.
Oh, he did a super job. I mean, moving those picks away he was in that movie. Yeah. Oh, jeez, what a joke.
Pretty sweet.
Anyway, let's talk. let's talk receivers because the Pittsburgh Steelers need receivers, guys. I see more and more stuff.
No, Rico Bussey is a stud. What are you talking about?
Hey, I like Rico.
Wasn't that like
Great.
2 years ago?
It's a great name. No, I was getting to camp.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that 2 receivers are taken in this draft. I don't think it happens, but it wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock me either, given the fact that they haven't signed one yet.
No, there's no veteran presence in that wide receiver room, and that's not necessarily a knock on anybody, but it is a little bit. Because if your veteran receiver is Deontay Johnson, I need a veteran. I gotta have somebody.
I agree. They need like a Jericho Cotchery type signing.
Exactly. Yes.
That would be, ideal.
So tomorrow morning, Ian's going to publish the draft profiles of the receivers. So, Ian, go ahead, give us a rundown on some of these guys that you looked at.
Yeah, sure. So, sort of the top tier, kind of regardless of which, rankings you look at, pretty much the top 5 guys are all the same names in the top 5, regardless of who's ranking them. And there's really no consensus top receiver in this draft, right? There's not a Jamar Chase. There's not a, there's not a guy that you say, this is the best receiver in this draft class. There's pluses and minuses to all these guys. Part of that is that Alabama's Jamison Williams and USC's Drake London are both coming off injuries. Williams tore his ACL in the national championship game. Drake London broke his ankle in October, missed the rest of the year.
Would either one of those guys be a clear-cut number 1 without the injury, or would it still be questions?
I think they'd both be in the conversation. The 2 guys from Ohio State, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, both blew it up at the combine. And coming into this season, a lot of people thought Olave was the top receiver in the class. He's got some inconsistent hands, but I mean, both those guys are speedsters. Olave's a little less physical. Wilson's more raw, but also faster. So, both of those guys can fly. And, if you look at an offense like kind of what San Francisco ran and what Miami's probably going to run now, is there's a lot of short slant passes and you get the ball in your receiver's hands quickly and let them make plays with the ball in their hands. And Miami's now set up perfectly with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill to run that kind of offense with Mike McDaniel as their head coach. And Arkansas's Treylon Burks might be the most well-rounded out of all of them, but he also, has some holes in his game too. So Arkansas manufactured a lot of touches for Burks. They would line him up in the backfield next to the quarterback. Like they'd have a running back on one side and Burks on the other side to try and get him mismatched on linebackers and things like that. So those 5 are probably the top guys. I don't really know how many are going to go in the first round. I mean, as few as 2 or as many as 5 or 6 could go in the first round, kind of just depending on how much people like them. I kind of feel like this year's wide receiver class is a lot like last year's pass rusher class, that last year all the pass rushers had holes in their game, but teams were so desperate for pass rushers, we saw like 5 go in the first round when there were guys that we were like, we wouldn't take them in the first round, like, and they got picked in the first round just because teams were desperate for it. So it may be, these guys all have some NFL caliber skill. So, if teams are looking at the wide receiver market now, which just went insane this year in free agency, and saying, do I want to pay a guy $25 million a year who's a veteran on the market, or do I want to draft one of these guys and have them for 4 or 5 years? You're probably better off drafting them. The injuries are going to be a question definitely for Williams or London. Wilson's usually the other guy that I see listed at the top of the rankings as the number 1. But he's definitely got straight line speed. His agility drills at the combine did not come out very well. His 3-cone and his shuttle drill. So, he doesn't have a lot of wiggle. It's mostly straight line, and he's a bit raw in his route running. But that straight line speed is something that can take the top out off the coverage. Where the Steelers have done really well in the past is kind of in those middle rounds, right on day 2 draft picks. The guys to keep an eye, the names to keep an eye on there. Penn State's Jahan Dotson, who probably has the best hands of anyone in this draft, but he doesn't have that breakaway speed. So he plays a little. The corners get a little closer to him. He gets balls broken up, but he's got the best hands.
If he can learn to run routes, he'll have great value.
Yeah. North Dakota State's Christian Watson, who draft Twitter absolutely loves. He's got the athleticism, but played at a small school. I see Ryan rolling his eyes. I'll let him get his words in. The guy I love, Western Michigan Sky Moore, partially because he's a Whippeal guy. Was the first player in Whippeal history to pass and rush for 1,000 yards in 2 seasons. He could be a great slot receiver, punt returner in the NFL. He's a good route runner. He's got good hands, and he's got speed that can run away from guys. The two guys the Steelers have spent a lot of time with, Georgia's George Pickens and Clemson's Justin Ross, new wide receivers coach Frisman Jackson worked out both of those guys at their pro days. So, those are definitely names to keep an eye on. Both of them have injury history. Pickens came back from an injury last year, whereas Ross missed an entire season with spinal surgery, and then also had, I think, an ankle injury last year. So Ross's best seasons were his freshman and sophomore seasons, and then he's kind of been injury plagued the last 2 years. So that may even drop him to a day 3 guy. I could, if Pickens is there in round 2, I could definitely see us taking him. Just because of the time we've put into him, and he's a big dude. I mean, he's 6'3", 195. He's almost a somewhat shorter, lankier Plexico Burress. He's got size and length, but he's only a junior, so he still has some time to kind of fill out into his adult frame.
They like the young guys.
Yeah. When you're 6'3" and have those long arms, you can fill out the muscle on the body. He can definitely take the top off the coverage too. And just a few other names to keep an eye on later in the draft. SMU's Danny Gray, Frisman Jackson went to his pro day. And then some other guys, Velsis Jones from Tennessee, they saw him at the Senior Bowl. He tested really well at the Combine. And then some under the radar names that they haven't necessarily been tied to specifically, but let's not forget the whole offensive brass, Tomlin, Colbert, Matt Canada, all went to these pro days to watch these quarterbacks play, which means they also saw Alec Pierce from Cincinnati, who's 6'3", ran a 4.4 40. And then guys from Ole Miss, Dontario Drummond and Braylon Sanders, who didn't test as well, but keep an eye on that. And then Virginia Tech's Trey Turner actually was at Liberty's pro day working out with Malik Willis. Yeah. So the other Trey Turner. So that's my rundown on the receivers. I'll let you guys talk now.
Oh yeah, way to go, man.
One of the things
Ryan's been drinking, you can tell.
No,
he had to go to the office today. Of course, he's been drinking. One of the things that went kind of under the radar a little bit was the fact they didn't bring Ike Hilliard back to coach the receivers, and they got Coach Jackson. And there was a comment made, I don't know if it was by Colbert or Tomlin. I think it was Tomlin. And, so often you got to kind of root through the forest sometimes with these comments. And what I took from it was that Tomlin needed a guy with these receivers that was going to be a little bit more aggressive, a little more of a leader type. Didn't necessarily not that Ike Hilliard's a bad guy or anything.
I got the sense that they knew they were going to get rid of Hilliard.
Yeah.
Probably told Hilliard, you're not going to be back, but we're going to give you a chance to catch on someplace else. So we're going to let this drag out for a little while. And he didn't move on, so they couldn't make it seem like it was his choice to leave. The
point I'm making is that what we talked about right in the open is that there isn't a veteran in this group right now, not even close.
No.
So I guess at best, or at the very least, really, you get at least a coach that acts as a veteran presence. And so maybe that's what they were thinking with Coach Jackson there. But the wide receiver class to me it's interesting because, like Ian said, there's not the one guy that you can pencil in as this guy's going first. Everybody's got a few flaws. So Ryan, from where you sit, what do you like? Which guys do you like? Are you looking for more of a speed guy? Do you want a slot guy? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, they need a slot guy. They need some shit speed, and that's the way I'm looking at it. And Ian, kudos to you on that report. I think it was great. We actually have some of the same notes. I don't expect the Steelers to take a wide receiver in the first round. I don't. I think they're going to take a D-line, O-line. I'm wrong all the time, so take that for what it's worth. But yeah, so my names I'm going to say my names for second, third, or fourth round, depending on how it all shuffles out. And obviously, we're going to talk about running backs later. But yes, of course, Sky Moore, he's a Whitfield kid. He was the quarterback at Shadyside Academy, where Mike Tomlin's son went. I see Sky Moore as more of a slot guy, good ball skills, huge hands, combat catch guy. I know that's Tomlinisms, but that you can't ignore that, right?
No.
I don't know if he's going to be there.
Those are all great qualities to have. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if he's going to be there, but he's definitely a name I'm interested in.
If he's there at 52, I think they consider it. I agree.
with you. I do too.
Yeah. Another guy, as Ian mentioned, Justin Ross from Clemson, 6'4", 210, comparisons to Tim Patrick. He has injury history. He had a bad disc and congenital fusion. I read that earlier.
Man, that always scares me. Those spinal injuries.
That guy's a big three guy.
And again, I'm just reading from what I've read. Great leaping ability. He's a red zone target. He's big body, elite yak. Not the animal. High football IQ, and I mean, I'm not going to say he's Martavis Bryant, but he reminds me a little bit of Martavis Bryant. I said Martavis. That's Mike Tomlin.
You just said high football IQ and Martavis Bryant.
Relax. But no, I said Martavis Bryant, which is what Tomlin used to say, but Martavis Bryant. But I'm just saying body size. Martavis is probably a little bit more freakier, but I'm just thinking of a
Martavis was a freak athlete.
Yes. I'm thinking of more of a. Yes, I understand that. I'm trying to draw the comparison that they've looked at Clemson wide receivers. Anyway, and then the other guy I got in the 2 or 3 range, and I don't know if he's going to be there because he's really climbed up, and he's been on people's radars. Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky, started at Nebraska. I'm reading explosive and fast, good route runner, excellent straight line speed. He's tough. He could be a gadget guy. He's a playmaker. And I even read a description that he's lighter than Deebo Samuel, which isn't a bad comparison. And then I look at the later rounds, and as Ian mentioned, Danny Gray from SMU, obviously, they drafted Emmanuel Sanders, 2010, but Danny Gray, state champ in track, has kick returning and punt returning abilities. I know they signed Gunnar Olszewski,
which is huge.
But you never know. Gunnar Olszewski might not be a good kick returner. He's more of a punt returner, etc.
Olszewski.
Yes, but not Olszewski like Jerry O. But the one thing I saw about Danny Gray, long gliding strides. He ran a 4.33, and I look at him as a later 6th or 7th. And then one name, and I'm going to throw this out there, and whatever.
Okay.
Speedy Naylor from Michigan State. Jalen Naylor, not a draft pick, but a potential undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
He's had injury history, but he's a good route runner. I've read that he's a quarterback's best friend.
Tough kid.
Strong hands, but tough. And again, I'm not going to say that he's going to get drafted, but keep an eye on him for a potential undrafted free agent. And if he could stay healthy, injuries do play a part in this.
I've got him in the exact same spot, Ryan. He's a real tough kid. They loved him at Michigan State. I think quarterback's best friend is a great way to describe him. Had some really, really big games there. And I don't – he might be that I don't have in front of me. I'm not sure. Maybe one of the guys can look at that.
How did he test?
He's probably write down every digit, but yeah,
probably one of those guys that I'm guessing didn't test great because he's not real fast, if I remember correctly. Anyway, let me remind everybody that this is the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing of South Florida. Deck serves Broward and the southern Palm Beach counties, whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, multifamily, or condo. Contact Deck Roofing today by visiting deckroofing.com and tell them
not to drink peanut butter whiskey.
Hey, Ian, they do multifamily.
I mentioned
Yeah.
multifamily.
Yeah.
I mentioned
Naylor ran a 4.5 at the combine,
Oh, that's
38-inch
fine.
vertical jump,
Yeah.
That's
128
fine.
broad.
That's respectable. 128 broad? Yeah, that's totally respectable.
Yeah.
He
was a-
I don't.
Naylor
And-
was
and
at
that's-
8.02 on the RAS scale. out of
Oh
10.
shit! Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's not bad at all. So the injury history, I think, is working against him.
Right.
I
but
mean,
could and listen, he and this is the last thing I'll say. Undrafted free agents are commodities, right? Because they're trying to okay, I didn't get drafted, but I want to have a good signing bonus. So everybody's gunning for these guys. But he's a type of guy that I could see the Steelers interested in.
right on.
Not during the draft, but he's definitely. I'd
Well,
be
they
surprised
call these guys during the draft and they say, "Hey,
if he wasn't on their
if
board.
you don't get drafted, we'd be interested in signing you."
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
And
He's that
keep
guy.
Keep us in mind because we'd like to talk. And yeah, maybe he will be that guy. I mean, it sounds to me like he's a possession receiver. I'll be honest, I have not watched one bit of his tape, but I trust you guys, so I will take your word for it. But yeah, I mean, shit. Hines Ward was a possession receiver, and he had a hell of a career.
Pretty nice career.
He had a hell of a career. I mean, borderline Hall of Fame. I don't think he'll ever get in, but borderline Hall of Fame player.
Ben, let me.
And he was a possession receiver. Possession receiver.
For sure. Ben, what do you think the Steelers are looking for in a slot receiver right now? Are they looking for more of a Juju type, or are they looking for more of a quick, fast, speedy little guy in the slot? Because
I think ideally they would like a Juju type who can block.
Right.
Because if you're a good blocking wide receiver, you can help out a lot in the run game, and there's emphasis on the run game this year.
Absolutely.
So I believe that's the direction they're leaning. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're going to get, because you can't just go out and order a prospect, order a draft pick like you're ordering a fucking pizza. You can't just say, I want this. I want him to be tall and a good blocker, and I want him long speed, great hands, big hands. And you can't
but
just
no pineapple.
But no fucking pineapple. You can't do that. And no fucking ranch on the side either, because that's basic as fuck. You can't do any of that. All right. You get what you get. You look at what's there and you choose what you think is the best match for your team. And if it works out, it does. But I think my guess is they're leaning away from the Ray McLeod types. And Ray earned all my respect last year. He was a viable starting wide receiver last year.
Came a long way as a receiver.
We had five starting capable wide receivers last year. That is a wonderful luxury to have. I cannot fucking believe that happened. And right now we got two. So yeah, they need some wide receivers bad. Real fucking bad.
Whose Wheaties did James Washington piss in? That's what I'd like to know.
I don't know. I mean, he didn't.
He was never on the same page as Ben. Him and Ben never got their timing.
You think it's because he went to college with Mason?
Nah.
No,
I'm being a dick. I'm just saying.
I think his long speed, when he came in, basically, okay. So sprinters will tell you that everyone decelerates from the start. The first 10 yards are always the fastest in a race. Everyone's hauling ass, and everybody slows down. And some guys slow down faster than others. And guys that slow down less win races. Okay? So the thing about James Washington was that he had long speed, supposedly, and that he would gain separation late in the route because he slowed down less than the corner. Well, he wasn't exactly as advertised. He didn't get that separation. And I think that Ben never really trusted him. That and he had untimely fucking drops. The guy just did.
I'm play devil's advocate. I think he's going to be okay for Dallas.
I agree. I think he's going to be, if he gets more opportunities, he'll become more consistent and he'll be a better player.
Do you think the fact that if his quarterback can throw more than 40 yards would help?
Well, yeah.
His bread and butter was deep throws at Oklahoma State. I mean, he used
it
those big,
was,
strong hands, went up and grabbed the ball.
When he ran deep routes with the Steelers, he didn't gain a lot of separation.
No.
And
wasn't Ben's longest pass in the air last year was to Washington against the Bears. That was like 50 yards underthrown. You remember that?
Yes.
It wasn't 50 yards underthrown, but
it was underthrown.
Yeah.
It was underthrown, and he had some of them were overthrown. Ben's last 2 years, his deep ball was shit. He was overthrowing, underthrowing. It just wasn't the same guy. It just wasn't. It wasn't the same guy as before the injury. But before that, he could throw a 20-yard out, and it was a dime. And you're like, Jesus, how the fuck do you do that? And then that was gone. 2019 with the elbow, and it was over.
I think it's a good question though, Ryan, about Washington, because I agree. I think he's going to have a decent go in Dallas. I think they'll find ways to use him a little bit more. I do think there's truth about Ben not trusting him.
Slot.
That was the other thing too. He was pretty limited in where he could be on the field.
I'm interested to see where they put him. Right?
Yeah.
Because Cedric I said I'm a tangent guy, but Cedric Wilson went to Miami.
No, he's Boise State, wasn't he?
No. I thought Cedric Wilson got signed by the Dolphins. Maybe I'm thinking.
I might be one, senior or junior?
His son played for the Cowboys, but I thought
Yeah, he did. Yes, the Dolphins signed him. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So the Cowboys. Okay.
Now I know who you're talking about.
Listen, my father-in-law is a huge Cowboys fan, so he WhatsApp.
So he's obviously a terrible person. I'm sorry.
You got CeeDee Lamb, James Washington, Noah Brown. I think still plays for them. They got rid of Cooper. They got
Gallup
some tight
still
ends.
there?
So
Gallup is still there. He got a big deal from them, I thought.
But Gallup hurt his knee. Gallup ain't going to be right. I don't think so.
Oh.
Yeah, Gallup tore his Achilles
MCL.
or something. In that,
When?
yeah,
I
Gallup.
thought he tore his MCL and dislocated his. And maybe it's a different player. Sorry.
No, Gallup in the was it the playoff game or right before it? Anyway, they're going to be in the wide receiver market too. Is my point.
Yes,
so who knows where James Washington is going to be? I digress. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hey, let him know the Cowboys suck.
Yeah, just float that into candid conversation.
He likes me though, so that.
Let him know that the Cowboys are
the
perfect 500 since 1997. Perfection.
It's taken me 37 and a half minutes to mention what everybody's been talking about, but there was this slap this weekend that got everybody's attention.
Fuck, whatever.
Well, have you seen the meme where somebody says the Cowboys are making the playoffs, and then you see Will Smith smack? It's just the internet is just brilliant. Man, I don't know. I think Pickens is their top target. I think
Week
they've
7
put a lot of time into him. Pickens from Georgia.
Is the Steelers' top target?
I think he did, and I don't have any inside information on that. I'm just going based on what I gather. I just got a feeling he's young. He's coming off some injury things, but man, he's got size. He's been productive when he plays. I just got a feeling if he's there. But I really think, and Ian, you guys have all mentioned him, I really think if Sky Moore is sitting there at 52, they're going to have to take him because he's not going to be there in the third round.
No.
At all. If they truly want him.
No shot. If they want him,
right.
52.
Got to be at 52.
That said, if you take Pickens, if Moore's gone, if you take Pickens at 52 and then like a Danny Gray or a Velus Jones or someone like that in like the 6th or 7th round, that's a great restocking because you can find slot receivers late in the draft. You can find slot receivers in free agency. Like you can find slot receiver. Like we found Eli Rogers as an undrafted free agent
presence someplace.
They got to find
that
somebody.
room.
You're right.
I think they got to sign one. It just feels to me like they're going to sign one and draft one.
Who's currently on the market right now? Veteran free agent.
I don't.
I mean, it's not a real steady market.
Not great,
as it once was. Yeah. I don't know.
Even for running back, it's bad too.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of running backs,
good segue.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that we need a running back. Now, Mike Tomlin made some comments this week that he's not going to change from who he is, going to run the wheels off Najee Harris, and we've known that since day one.
Which is why when Najee's first contract is up, he's going to be a Ferrari with 250,000 miles
Exactly.
on him.
You're not
Exactly.
wrong.
And pretty much done.
Yeah, and I, I think we've all said. I know Ryan said it. I know Ian said it. Change of pace guy, a Tony Pollard type guy would be perfect.
Tony Pollard would be Christmas, but that isn't going to happen.
No, it's not.
But
and
you
plus,
know who would be great is here's the name for you.
Amos
Pierre
Zerouet.
Strong from South Dakota State.
Yeah,
He ran a 4.37 at the combine. Yeah.
Scarps does not like these Dakota people. I'm telling you right now.
Why
He's got
not?
a bias against the Dakotas. He didn't like Watson, and now he doesn't like Pierre.
Why not, Ryan? What's your Dakota bias?
I gotta cut back the facial expressions.
It's all right, go ahead. I make them all the time when you guys are talking. I'm like, that's bullshit.
one quick tangent. In the 2017 draft, the Steelers had a certain player ranked as the number 2 wide receiver on their board, but he wasn't the second receiver taken. I'm sure you can guess who it is.
Which draft?
2017.
Okay.
Ooh.
Who do you think they had as the number 2 ranked receiver on their board?
So this was the number 2 ranked receiver, not
that they had.
Juju.
Yes.
Juju.
They took Juju.
Yeah.
He wasn't the second wide receiver taken. He was just yes.
But that was a pretty good draft pick.
Huh?
That was a pretty good draft pick.
It was. No, absolutely. I'm saying that
when that guy can get one-on-one coverage. Oh.
Yeah. So my point about Juju is kudos to Juju. He will be in Pittsburgh lore forever, and I think he did a pretty good job here.
He did.
But I get my point about wide receivers is this: expect the unexpected with the Steelers when it comes to wide receivers because they've been just so good at evaluating.
Really fucking good at evaluating wide receivers. Yes. I think their confidence is pretty high that they can find good wide receivers.
So getting back to FCS schools, and no disrespect, but this isn't a 16 seed in basketball. This isn't 5-on-5 where anything can happen. Competition means a lot to me, especially because I've never done anything athletically in my life. But
well, you haven't
done it well.
You have to be careful about FCS schools. I'm just saying, and I'm not it scares me, and probably that's why.
There's Carson Wentz and then there's Josh Allen.
Yes. Well, Wyoming is not an FCS school.
It might as well be.
And I think there's a reason. To Ryan's point, though, this is a good point. I think there's a reason that in his 21, 22 years as GM now, Kevin Colbert has only taken one player from a non-D1 school in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
Coakley?
Right.
Coakley. Yeah.
So again, and this is no disrespect because I looked at Christian Watson earlier because I'm not a Christian Watson guru or expert, but I looked at him earlier. I'm like, damn, this dude's big. He's physical. He's got hands. Yeah. But who's he playing against? You know what I mean? Like at least what we talk about receivers. We talk about anybody who plays in the SEC
it's
or
the Chase Winovich thing again,
or the Big Ten, and it's just like whatever. Anyway, so that's why I rolled my eyes because I have reservations.
Well, that's fine. You're not going to take these guys high.
Yeah,
and you're not going to take
Christian Watson's way high.
Okay, that's fine, but you're not going to take a backup running back on day 1 or 2. I don't think.
No.
Although the Steelers' track record for drafting running backs on day 3 as of late is not exactly great.
Yeah.
So
Ian's dying to say something.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I'm guessing it has to do with the fact his name is Pierre, and he's from South Dakota, where the capital is Pierre.
Drink.
By the way, let's take a quick segue. What's everyone drinking tonight?
I'm drinking Liberty Pole whiskey, which is from Washington, Pennsylvania, home of the
Washington Wild Things.
Well, not only the Washington Wild Things, but home of the Whiskey Rebellion Festival that happens every year.
The Whiskey Rebellion Festival?
Yeah.
Love it.
Shit,
Listen,
what is that? I need to fly
Pennsylvania-
out there for that.
Pennsylvania
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
great.
"Fuck
It's so much
you,
fun."
Britain, you know?
So
Oh,
whiskey
absolutely, man.
That is, I just on name alone, I'm like, fuck, I need to go to this.
Listen,
Yes, it's great.
When is it?
It's in the summer, like July or August. I'll
Oh
send
my
it
god.
to you.
Oh fuck. Pittsburgh in the summer is not great.
You lived in Arizona. You'll
Yeah, I
be
did, dude. But it's
fine.
humid.
you live in Portland now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything
There's
could
no-
be better.
There's no humidity in Portland, my friend.
That's
It's
fair.
fantastic.
What Skirts,
Basically,
what are you drinking?
everything this side of the Rockies,
You know,
no humidity.
I'm trying to broaden my horizons.
Yeah.
So I got
Here's
the
some
Luchadora,
Northwestern whiskey.
the
Lucha
Luchadora
Ooh.
from
Wow, look at that
Luchadora.
can.
yeah, Hop Farm Brewing Company from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Did you pick that beer based upon the label?
Fuck yeah,
I
man.
would have.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a chick thing to do, Ryan.
Oh, I
That's
would.
a-
I admit I
It
would.
is.
Listen,
That's
I don't fill up
that's
my
how women
brackets
pick
based
out
on
wine.
mascots, so relax over there.
That's
a
how
Rey
women
Mys-
pick out wine. Is
That's
they go,
Rey
I
Mysterio.
really liked the label, and so I bought it. Yeah, well,
Rosé,
the
whatever.
one
You know?
you picked out sucks, and you need to learn about wine.
And Ben, what are you drinking?
You're a dick.
He
Yeah,
is a dick.
you know,
Hey, it only
Have
took
we
like
met?
5
You're alive.
episodes,
You are
man.
a
have
dick, man. I
have we
love you.
met, Ryan? We've met before,
I
right?
do love you, but you are a fucking dick. I'm saying.
This isn't the first time we've talked.
I
Roof
know.
and Top whiskey from Sisters, Oregon.
Oh, very nice.
It is good shit.
Sisters,
actually.
Oregon, and I'm
Is
the
that related?
female. What the
Is
fuck?
it-
You know?
Is that my brother's Oregon?
Yeah.
Sisters is it's two mountains in Central Oregon.
Oh, I'll bet it's 2 mountains.
That are
Interesting.
called-
Yeah. What the fuck?
that are
You
called
guys,
the
you're
Sisters.
fucking throwing us softballs right now. What the hell's
I'm just
happening?
telling you, that's what they are. They're not the Scissor Sisters, which, by the way, are a really good band. And the first time I heard that, I was like, Scissor Sisters, huh? I wonder what that's about.
Yeah.
Huh.
If we don't get canceled tonight, we're never getting
And
canceled.
I looked at the girl I was dating, and I said, "What's that about? Will you explain that to me?"
Did she send you to urbandictionary.com?
Oh, hours of enjoyment on that site.
I had to
Yeah.
Google that from my phone, not work computer, you know?
I actually had a pizza place not far from where I grew up called the Three Sisters. And it was affectionately known in our town as Six Tits. So
No,
know,
seriously,
not
I'm
the
not
same
kidding.
thing.
This band, the Scissor Sisters, they're actually really good.
Sister
I'm
Sisters.
serious. The Scissor Sisters.
They're cutting
They're-
edge.
They're very
Nice.
very good. I'm not
Here we
kidding. I was
I
surprised. I,
got
was
you,
like,
Ryan.
then when I heard the name of the
going.
band, I was like, "Do you guys take this shit seriously at all?" I mean, that's
We
the
just
name of
lost
your
our
band.
entire audience, and I couldn't care less.
Okay, back on track. Running back.
backs.
Here's-
Pierre
here's what I'm gonna
Strong. The
say.
Steelers did interview him at the combine. So
They
let's talk
did,
about it.
and regardless of where you
Listeners,
play,
we've had a few drinks.
we've had some drinks. yeah.
Yes, we have.
Regardless of where you play, speed travels, right? That being said, there's a massive problem with this entire running back class. Is that at the combine, none of them did agility drills because the
No.
stupid NFL structured the combine for TV so that they ran their 40s in prime time, and then these dudes were just sitting around for 2 hours before they were
Right.
supposed to run their agility
Excellent
drills
point.
at like 10 o'clock at night, and
Right.
the entire running back class opted out of the
Yep.
3-cone drill and out of the shuttle drill. So we have
Which
no agility scores on any of these guys, which makes it really hard to assess them because is Pierre
Unless you're
Strong's-
really good at breaking down tape, which I'm going to say the scouts probably are.
Yeah, but
Most.
is Pierre Strong's 4.37 40, is that a Dree Archer 40 where he can only run straight, and if he has to wiggle at all, he
can
loses all
only
his
run
speed?
straight.
Or
Size, dimensions, what are they?
oh, for Strong?
Yeah.
They weren't too bad. Hold
no,
on.
he had some size to him.
Yeah, let me pull him up here. I think he was, let's see here, 5'11", 207. So he's
Oh yeah.
much better size than Dree Archer.
Oh yeah.
And
He's not going to be an arm tackle guy.
no,
No.
36-inch vertical, 124-inch broad jump. I mean, he had some good numbers for an FCS guy.
So he's got explosive. Yeah, that's good.
He's got explosives. I'm saying day 3, I would absolutely take a risk on this guy. Some other guys the Steelers have talked to, Tyler Algier, however the fuck you pronounce his name from BYU.
Ian said, "Fuck." I would like it noted for the record that
I don't
Ian's
think
gonna
I've
talk-
ever heard
I
him
want a
say
date
fuck.
and a
Oh,
time.
Before.
Writing it down now.
All right. Anyways, BYU running back, he has a lot of. He's like a one-cut runner, kind of like a
he is.
Chuba Hubbard, a Jonathan Dwyer. Foot in the ground and go is what it is.
Jonathan Dwyer.
There's a name.
Sincerely,
I know who it is, but like I don't like that at all.
I'm just saying.
You know what?
I'm drawing comparisons.
Honestly,
I got you.
as
got
bad
you.
as the run game was at that point, Jonathan Dwyer was their best running back.
He was their best option.
Yeah, he was a good dude too.
He was.
Was he? Right on.
Other guys they've talked to, Sincere McCormick from UTSA, who was at the Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year.
Big year down there.
Letty Brown from West Virginia, which let's talk about this for a second. They sent their assistant wide receiver coach to West Virginia's pro day, and West Virginia doesn't have any draft eligible wide receivers. So I really don't know what they're looking at here or why they sent him there. But it got reported around that that he was there. At any rate, some other running backs they've kind of run into over time, whether it be, like we said, the whole brass was there scouting quarterbacks. So like Jerome Ford from Cincinnati, James Cook and Zamir White from Georgia, they were all there for. Snoop Connor from Ole Miss, they were there for. And then Kevin Colbert's kind of gone off on his own to a couple other pro days. He went to Michigan. They saw Hassan Haskins. Kyron Williams from Notre Dame, Ty Chandler from North Carolina, Brian Robinson from Alabama they saw this week. So there's been a lot of running backs that they've seen at pro days. So it's pretty wide open, and they do need a backup to Najee because Benny Snell just hasn't gotten there. And, Benny Snell is not a 3-down back. If Najee gets hurt, you need a guy you can bring in and put in there. But I think to Ryan's point earlier, which was an excellent point, the one thing this offense does not have right now is home run hitters. You need a guy who's a threat to score anytime he touches the ball, whether that's at running back, at wide receiver, wherever it is. You need a guy who can take it to the house and make big plays with the ball in his hands, because whoever's playing quarterback, whether it's Mitch Trubisky, whether it's Mason Rudolph, whether it's some draft pick, you need yards after the catch. You need help from your skill players. And that's the big takeaway from this draft is we need guys with speed that can score anytime they touch the ball, whether it's a bubble screen, a slant pass, a draw play, whatever it is. You need guys that can get big yards.
Slightly. What they need on this offense right now is a Mewelde Moore. They need a guy who can come in and be a third down back, but also be a spot starter.
That would, yeah. That's
what they need right this minute.
I don't disagree with that.
And because you could not only can he rest Najee on third down on a regular basis, but he can also come in should Najee sprain his ankle and make a spot start and play respectably, right?
Yep.
Mewelde Moore was never like a great running back, but pretty good.
Man, he was a great pickup.
He did enough. Yeah, I know he was a great signing. There's no question. But they need to find a guy like that, in my opinion, who fits that kind of a role.
Did they talk to Damian Pierce down of Florida? Because he's a guy that I sound like Collinsworth.
Here's a guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan. Do it.
I mean,
here's a guy.
Yeah,
I also went to Florida. Here's a guy that followed.
Exactly. Well played.
So
that's like a Casey Kasem / Cole.
It is Casey Kasem.
I apologize.
I love it.
Next time Americans have 40, Chris Mullins wears things boogie oogie oogie.
So Pierce they saw at the Senior Bowl, and don't forget, like Tomlin, Colbert, all those guys were at the Senior Bowl. So basically, anyone who played in the Senior Bowl, I'm counting as them having scouted pretty signisightly.
He's an interesting guy to me. He's not a burner or anything.
He is still way sober compared to us.
Not used to, not used a lot, but man, he runs hard. And is one of those guys. I don't know if he would fit in a Mewelde Moore type role, but he's somebody to look at too. My concern is that they get a little overconfident, a little arrogant sometimes, and they think, we're not going to draft a running back. We'll find somebody in free agency, a rookie. We'll just bring him in because Tomlin just subscribes to that ride them until they die theory, and I understand it, but I don't like it
as a result.
Yeah, and you look around the league. You look at the Niners, even the Rams were rotating in a couple of backs.
The Rams had a lot of running back injuries too. I mean,
they did.
If the Rams had their way, they would have had Cam Akers the whole season. But
I think so.
But he got hurt. Darrell Henderson got hurt. So
yeah.
But I think to your point though, it's a really good point that like you want a running back at the end of the year who's going to be fresh. Like when we played Kansas City and they brought in Jerick McKinnon, who had been hurt all year, he was fresh and was just running, like blowing past us. That, at the end of the year, it's kind of good to have even some of those, like McKinnon's not a young guy. He's an older guy, but he was fresh, and that made a huge difference.
I agree.
The playoff Leonard Fournette, is fresh.
Helped him out a little bit too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Hey, let me remind everybody too that we are part of the Pigskin Podcast Network, which means we are very happy to be tied in with DraftKings and the DraftKings Sportsbook. College basketball fans, this is it. Final Four weekend coming up. Join the action on the court during the biggest tournament of the year with DraftKings Sportsbook. Turn your team's victory into your own big win. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. It's that simple. If they win, you win. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet $5 on any college hoops team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. Nice. If they win, you win with promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook.
I fucking hate Duke, as do every good person in the United States.
All right, go Duke. My one final thought on running backs is that there are a ton of free agent running backs available out there. Most of them being veteran guys who are in their late 20s that you're not going to run the wheels off of, but can probably give you that kind of spot start if you need it. Guys like a Phillip Lindsay, who could be that third down kind of back. Like a Marlon Mack, who's had injury issues, but, could be that, third down plus.
Man, I liked him coming out too.
Plus, spot starter if he can stay healthy.
Right.
If that's a big if. I'll give you that. Darrell Williams. Peyton Barber. Guys who have kind of Wayne Gallman. Guys who have been spot starters occasionally, but you can probably get for dirt cheap right before training camp just to give them a tryout.
Yeah.
And the guy I've been talking about all along that I really like, Justin Jackson, who hasn't signed anywhere yet, which I'm kind of surprised by, because when he was healthy and filled in for the Chargers, he was all right. But he just had, he had dudes in front of him the whole time that he couldn't surpass on the depth chart. So if you can find a guy like that for basically the veteran minimum, because running backs you can get dirt cheap on the free agent market, fill your roster out with a couple of those guys. They'll give you more than Anthony McFarland has given you in 3 years.
Really?
I think McFarland's done. I don't think he's making the team this year, but that's another conversation for later.
Shocks me, but I really, when McFarland came out, I didn't think he was going to be like a great running back. But I thought he'd be a home run threat and a guy that you could.
Worse than Dre Archer.
Yeah, so far. But if you.
I said it.
He was a guy that I thought if you got him out into space, he would work the situation to create long gains if you got him into space. Which I'm not saying that's easy, but, so far he's done dick. I mean, nothing.
Yeah. I mean, he's battled some injuries.
He can't eat, but he can't do enough when he's healthy to get a hat on Sundays. And that tells you a lot right there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of those guys, Ian, might be somebody that's brought in. Whether they draft somebody or they do get a rookie free agent at the end of the draft, I still think they're going to bring in one or two of those types of guys too.
And if they don't bring back Terrell Edmonds, they're not tied to having Trey Edmonds on the practice squad either.
It sure seems to be that they are connected, right?
I really know. I think Tomlin loves Trey Edmonds. I think he loves Trey Edmonds.
He clearly does.
Trey Edmonds is the cat of 9 lives. He somehow keeps making this team. I think those things are independent of one another. I think that Mike Tomlin really likes Trey Edmonds and likes to have him as an option, as a fullback / running back / whatever the fuck. Well, that's okay because they're going to draft Connor Hayward in the 7th round this year and continue their family
tradition.
And because they love family members, so
they do.
They're gonna.
They
brought in the extra Watt.
Connor Hayward can play special teams and play fullback. I'm all for it. But if not,
don't do it just to do it. So Scarps, we're going to talk a little bit about tight ends, and I want to give this to you first because
I had RBs. I thought tight ends was next week, man.
I think we should talk about why Ian is still so sober.
Well, I did.
Let Ryan talk about running backs. I've dominated the show. Let Ryan talk about running backs.
No, I thought we were doing tight ends next week. That's what she said. But
well, no, I just
I'm gonna go.
We can go back to running backs. All I wanted to mention was that your avatar, I believe it is, on Twitter currently, isn't it a picture of you and one Mr. Earl Miller?
One of the greatest. Seriously,
Who's Earl?
One of the greatest moments. Timing is everything, but one of the greatest moments of my life was just being at the right place at the right time, standing in front of Heath Miller in a loss at Oakland. Imagine that. Imagine the Steelers playing the Raiders on the road and losing.
Fancy that.
And I just remember because you're not allowed to have your phone on the sidelines. Like you can have it, but you can't really be in the ball, whatever. And I just remember all of a sudden my phone just blowing up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So at halftime, I went back and I'm just like, oh my God. And literally Heath and I same shot, same hairline. And I remember not that day because we lost, but I remember afterwards, I showed her the picture.
We lost in Oakland?
I'm like,
that's stunning.
Yeah. I was like, man, we're twinsies. And we laughed about that for a long time. Listen. I know he didn't die, but I'm going to say a prayer for Heath Miller right now because that dude was one of the best ever. He's just great.
I really like the way that he retired. He made a phone call to the Steelers and said, I'm going to go ahead and retire. And that was it.
I do, but I don't because it was a Friday and I thought I was going to get out of work early and get hammered. Whatever.
He pulled the Friday news dump on him.
He was smart. Heath was smart as hell. He used to be Scorpino.
He was like, you know what? I've decided to retire, and there's not really.
You went to UVA. I mean, he had to be somewhat smart.
Will you guys just send me my stuff because I'm staying here?
He would be like, he would joke, but I would actually respect his words. He'd be like, I'll give you 5 interviews a year. So make sure you come to me with good stuff. I'd be like, all right. And he was only joking, but I literally would only go with him go to him for the good stuff. But yes, that is my Twitter avatar. Follow me. I tweet good things about Mike Tomlin, which apparently isn't popular.
Yeah, you're a dick. Why do you defend Mike Tomlin?
I mean, because fucking data and stats and
say he's a good coach. Because he is. Dickheads.
Never knock it off. Get in the way of an opinion.
Quantitative analysis or things
of
that
nature. I'm 100% here for the stats and the data, Ryan.
Quantitative analysis. Anyway, back to running backs.
Yeah.
Running backs.
So I sort of when we talked about who the Steelers might draft or whatever, who they're looking at, I sort of judge this based on where I think they're going to go. So I could see them going for a running back 3rd round or 4th round. So, and I don't know if these guys are going to be here, but I'm going to talk about it. So I got James Cook from Georgia, who is not only a great running back, but he is a world-renowned explorer. That is a history joke. But he's started at Miami, went to Georgia. He's the brother of Dalvin Cook.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen comparisons, Kenyon Drake, Damian Harris, Tony Pollard, who I've spoken about on this show many times, and even Miles Sanders. His best years has been as a reserve. And last year in 15 games, I think only 2 starts. He had 1,000 all-purpose yards and 11 touchdowns. And my theme tonight is going to be not a lot of tread on the tires. So then I look at a guy like Jerome Ford, started Alabama, went to Cincinnati. Do I sound like Mel Kiper? I hope I don't. But Alabama.
Can you do a Mel Kiper?
Todd.
I can't. Yeah, I can't. I'll work on it. But no, so he starts at Alabama. He's behind Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris.
Kind of a good recruiting class.
Yeah. So if you can play at Bama, you're pretty
probably
good.
Pretty good.
Another guy that has low mileage, only 319 career carries. He's fast, he's strong, athletic. So I look at James Cook as like a third rounder. I look at Jerome Ford as a fourth rounder. We'll see. And then I got two guys in the later rounds, maybe undrafted free agents. I'm looking at, and I love his name, I'm looking at Snoop Connor from Ole Miss, okay? Snoop Connor has comparisons to Alexander Madison from the Vikings, and I think that's a really good comparison.
Yes.
Low mileage, only 2 starts in Ole Miss history, but he's third all-time in school history with 26 rushing touchdowns.
Damn.
He's 5'10", 222. He's a brick shit house. And then I'm looking at a guy, it's a wild card, but I'm looking at a guy like Quan White from South Carolina. Comparisons to Ty Johnson and Tony Pollard. Started at Florida State. He was a linebacker, but he's explosive and athletic, but he's raw, okay? Springy, creative, unpredictable. 6 or 7 like Snoop Connor or an undrafted free agent. The bottom line is they need a sub for Najee. They need a capable running back that can spell Najee, and they need a home run hitter. I don't give a shit whether that's a wide receiver or running back.
Wasn't
Ryan, that was really good, but I would like you to work on your Mel Kiper and Todd McShay impressions because that would round things out. It would make the whole thing a lot better.
Yeah, if you don't know, listeners, Ryan is a man of many impersonations.
He can do a lot of impressions.
He can.
Since we're talking about
Troy Polamalu, but it's fucking spot on.
Yeah. Wasn't Madison the guy that was like running through us like nothing this year?
No, that was
actually Dalvin Cook.
That was literally everyone. Every fucking running back.
Nah, it was Dalvin because he came back.
Madison was the week before. Whoever they played the week before, I remember watching him.
Every running back.
So
after like week 5.
Touche.
Steel Dad, real quick, and then to Ian. The Steel Dad. That's what you just said was perfect because Dalvin Cook battled injuries all year.
Yeah.
And you didn't quite know if it was Dalvin Cook or Alexander Madison. And that to me is great. No disrespect to Najee, but it's just kind of like, who the hell is it? Najee or is it
Ian made the point?
I don't give a shit because we're winning. And I know the Vikings struggled this year, but
and Ian is dead on.
Ian,
what?
Thank you.
Yes. Oh yeah. Speaking of Snoop, my 10-year-old son this week told one of his brothers, "You don't even know who Snoop Dogg is. He's the guy in the Corona commercial."
Yeah,
well, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. But I'm like, this is your frame of reference, dude. Okay, you know.
So did you introduce Snoop to some, your son to some Snoop, Dr. Dre?
I just went and tweeted about it. I didn't.
So, to enhance the experience, did you give your kids some edibles before you introduced them to Snoop?
No.
That's good.
Look, kids, here's gin and juice.
I applaud that.
Yeah. Good stuff. The tight end class, really, we can save it for next week. That's totally fine. It's not a great tight end class.
No.
The Steelers, I don't know how much
shit
are in the market anyway.
Thank God. The Steelers are in the market for a number 3 tight end.
I think I would love to see them find.
Remember flashback to when they drafted Zach Gentry and we were all like, what the fuck? That was a bullshit choice. I cannot fucking believe you took that guy. He sucks. Fuck you guys. And then it turned out to be
he's
respectable.
He is
caught Ben Roethlisberger's last pass.
He did.
Did he really?
Yes.
Right outside the goal line. Yeah.
I am just saying the Steelers might know more than the average.
Well, I think it's also
the average scout on Steelers Twitter.
It's a credit to the kid too, because Gentry was former quarterback who worked his
when he
ass
showed
off.
up. He was tall and lanky and couldn't block to save his fucking life. And couldn't get on the field because of it.
Yep.
And he worked and he became better. And as a result, he's like a respectable player now.
No, I totally agree.
I think that goes back to something that Tomlin and Colbert always talk about is that, like, there's guys who want to be football players because they love the game. And then there's guys who want to be football players because they love the lifestyle that comes with being a football player. And they always try to tend towards getting guys who want to be football players because they love the game and are going to work hard rather than the other type guys. And occasionally you get guys that fall into that other category. But, sometimes when you're picking in the late 6th round and you're like, hey, this guy's on the board and we think he has some upside, maybe we'll take him.
Brown.
Exactly.
I was trying to say that without saying it, but you've had more drinks than I have. So, yes. But yeah, but AB worked hard too. I mean, that's not to discredit.
AB worked his fucking ass off.
Yeah,
he was a talented, hardworking guy.
That's why he and Ben.
Yeah,
you know this.
Yes, yes. So
because AB worked his ass off, and Ben took Wednesdays off every week. Didn't matter if he played badly on Sunday or not. He took Wednesday off.
Yeah,
and AB had enough, and maybe he had a point, but it didn't fucking matter. You don't go lower than the other guy, AB, which is what you do.
Yes. Unless you're trying to, stop a goal line stand, then you definitely want to get lower than the other guy. But at any rate,
well,
that's what you want in your defensive lineman, not in your wide receivers.
I did want to get
defensive lines in 2 weeks, folks. Come back.
Yes, we'll get to that. I did want to get your thoughts. The NFL owners this week did approve changes to the postseason OT. First of all, the regular season staying the way it is, which quite frankly sucks. I would just assume they keep ties. I'm fine with it. But
you guys are both wrong.
Well,
hey, Ryan did a really good breakdown on Twitter of what teams' records would have been if they had just tied at the end of regulation. Well done, Ryan.
Yeah, that's true. Check out Ryan at his Twitter feed. And
check out Ryan's drunk tweets during the day on a week.
What?
At work.
I'm pretty confident when Ben works out before the show, he drinks, drinks his water bottle.
Check out Ryan's tweets.
Hashtag schlammered.
I do not drink at the gym because I'm working out.
But assholes cut in front of you.
That's right.
Respect the gym etiquette.
I bitch and actually move them out of the way.
That's right.
I do that because
he gets the spray bottle out like they're a dog that won't stop barking.
Like, no, I was doing that. Fuck you.
Anyway, so basically, it's exactly what we thought it was going to be. Overtime is now. Each team will get one offensive possession. Once each team has had an offensive possession, then it's sudden death, and it goes from there. And I'm fine with that. I think the game has changed. It's a quarterback-driven league. It's an offense-driven league, and whether I like it or not, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. What do you guys think about the proposal? It came on very, very late. And I've heard that some owners want to actually dig into it a little bit more, but the proposal was just simply, instead of having a coin toss at the end of regulation, just say it's just like between the end of the first and the second, or between the end of the third and the fourth quarter. Team that had the ball, you get the ball and go from there. I don't know. I thought it had some merit.
Wait. It was team that had the ball, or
so
I thought it was team that had the ball.
So if the Steelers have the
not
ball,
get the ball.
No, I thought it was if the Steelers
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was basically the team with the best rested defense would go out. So basically, they were saying whichever team did not have the ball got the ball next.
My understanding was it was to be just like in between the first quarter and the second quarter.
No,
if the Steelers have the ball at the 20 and it's 1st and 10, end of the first quarter, then they've got the ball at the 20, 1st and 10 when the second quarter starts, and you put, like they used to many, many years ago, put 15 minutes on the clock and play the period.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I get that safety thing, but come on, who are we fucking kidding anymore with player safety? I mean, it's gotten ridiculous.
Oh, they don't care about player safety.
No,
they don't give a shit about player safety. They care about the product on the field. And that is it. Yeah. They don't care about character. They don't care about.
No.
They care about the product on the field.
I think strategically it could make for some very interesting choices, though, because, like, yeah, if right now, if you get the ball with like 40 seconds left and the other team doesn't have any timeouts, you take a knee, it goes to overtime, you see what happens. But under that, do you try and move the ball down the field? Do you, how do you work it out?
It creates doubt.
Yeah. I was even thinking about with the proposal that got passed, right? So let's say, we'll use last year's example, right? Patrick Mahomes takes his team down the field, scores a touchdown, kick the extra point. They're up by 7. Right. Josh Allen takes his team back down the field, scores a touchdown. Do you go for 2 in the win there? Because do you think you have more of a chance if you're the second team with the ball?
I like that idea.
Oh, I love it.
You have a better chance of converting a 2-point conversion or kicking the ball back to Patrick Mahomes and trusting your defense to stop him when all he needs is a field goal to win now, right?
Yep.
That I think the second team now has an advantage because, like, you're better off choosing defense now rather than taking the ball first.
Mm-hmm.
That it's almost like college or high school overtime or a shootout in hockey or whatever, or in soccer or whatever you want to call it. You're better off knowing what you need to do, right?
Yeah.
The first team goes down and kicks a field goal, you get the ball, touchdown wins it, field goal keeps the game going.
Yes.
Or, and there was some coach, I think it was anonymous, but basically he said, like, I didn't trust my defense to stop them on 4th down, like, if they need it, because for the second team that gets the ball too, you now have 4 downs if you need to score. If the first team doesn't score, then it's kind of like, okay, we can punt it back, whatever, we'll see what happens. But, like, if the first team scores a touchdown or a field goal, you have to score to keep the game going. So now you have to go for it on 4th down. So you now have 4 downs instead of 3. The strategy of overtime is now completely changed too. So
I agree. I love it.
I'm very interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Same here. Apparently we've lost both Ryan and Ben, Ian, so we're just going to close the show without these two assholes.
Me talking strategy just turns everybody off. I get
it. I'm still here. I love the strategy. I think it's going to be great for the game when it happens. But, clearly it has happened enough recently where the owners felt it was something they needed to address, and they did. So
I'm back.
And Scarps is back just in time for me to close things out here.
Ryan didn't get in on this. Ryan, do you have an overtime take?
It's fine. It's fine.
No, go ahead. We got plenty
for the audience to know. I have to piss, but the point is that in back-to-back weeks last year in the AFC, we saw the home team get the ball first and score a touchdown, and then we saw the home team get the ball, fail to score a touchdown, and Cincinnati kicked the field goal. So. As I bitched and moaned about it last year, I think it's very smart for both teams to get a possession regardless if a touchdown is scored. Yep. And if I'm the NFL, I look at that as that's more money in my pocket because more people are paying attention to it. More people are going to watch this. Tangent, they should scrap overtime during the regular season. I'm sure the NFLPA would probably like that too. That's less injury.
Yep.
And I know that would hurt a couple folks, but if they actually did that, as Ian mentioned earlier, if they actually did, they scrapped overtime during the regular season last year, the Steelers and Raiders would have been out, the Colts and Chargers would have been in, and then in the NFC, the Saints would have been in and the Cardinals would have been out.
It's nuts.
If they went ahead and scrapped overtime,
the Steelers still would have been a 500 record. So
right,
if they went ahead and scrapped overtime, Mason Rudolph would have more ties.
Maybe Ben shouldn't have gotten COVID. Maybe he should have been safer. I'm a dick. God.
Maybe he should have. Maybe you're right.
Oh, well, the wheels have come completely off.
I said it.
That's all right, buddy. That's all right. Anyway, hey, that's it for us.
Ryan,
Thank you for listening to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And as always, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.
Fuck the Browns. And go Duke.
Weird.